Hello again, friends. We go on following the process. Opinion article. 12 electoral complaints. The great legal battle begins today, Monday. Leaders have fallen into their own trap. Justice will take 10 days to open the complaints. Perhaps it's the 10 days of darkness that were spoken of. The complaints will be opened after Friday, 13th November. The Department of Justice is already investigating postal voting. Attorney General Barr has already warned of mail vote fraud. William Barr has not pronounced himself on the election results. These elections are a litmus test for the rule of law. The envelopes of the ballots contain codes that allow them to be traced. Some Congressional Democrats believe there was fraud in their party. This political transition could be much more complicated than the previous one. This old political system is crumbling in the eyes of the population. This political situation has been carefully planned by the Grand Coalition. It's a culmination of events that will bring the victory of light over darkness. Let's start. The team of lawyers for the Republican election campaign is filing a dozen complaints with the U.S. courts on Monday regarding alleged irregularities in the postal vote count, which will be opened as of Friday 13, 10 days after the elections, according to legal regulations. I will not report the details of each individual case because I don't know them well, and because the electoral incidents have been innumerable. The legal challenge begins this Monday, and the courts will decide who has really won the presidency. The personal attributes of each candidate are a matter for the American people to judge, not the media. We may be in the famous 10 days of darkness after this election, as the Department of Justice has to wait 10 days to initiate the cases of election fraud that is starting next Friday, November 13th, as we have said. On the social networks, there are comments that evidence of fraud is going to appear everywhere, and they may be right, but all this remains to be seen, and the courts will have the last word. These elections are a litmus test for the rule of law that democratic countries boast so much about. Interestingly, there are some Democratic congressmen whose names I do not have now, who are convinced that their own party has committed fraud as far as the media is concerned. This transition could be more complicated than the previous ones. U.S. law lays down very clear instructions for an orderly transfer of power from one president to another, but the Democratic candidate's path is expected to be more difficult than that of most of his modern predecessors. A prolonged legal battle by the president, which would trigger vote counts in several states, could delay many activities related to the transition, as occurred in 2000 year, when Bush Jr. was declared the winner 5 weeks after the elections. Research. Justice Department investigating the election fraud, Barr said. The Justice Department is conducting several very large election fraud investigations in several states. Attorney General William Barr told to CNN in an interview broadcast September 2nd. I know there are several investigations right now. This is my gut. Some very large in the States. I repeat, I know there are several investigations right now, some very large, in the States. Barr said in response to a question about how many voter fraud allegations the Justice Department has filed. However, the media have already taken a very clear stand when they say that the president accuses without evidence, without taking the trouble to investigate the existence of such evidence, or that is hindering the transition, when the only ones who would be delaying the transition would be those who have committed cheating, or that the counting of votes is being prosecuted, but it is being done because possible irregularities have been detected, or that populism must be overcome when the meaning of this word used as a throwing weapon is not defined, or that the president loses all options when the judicial battle has barely begun. But Merkel's Germany goes even further when she says that the president is throwing oil on the fire of a possible constitutional crisis, when the only ones who have thrown oil on the fire are those who could have cheated. In other words, they are selling the beer skin before hunting it, as the popular saying goes. Mailing votes. Both the President and Attorney General William Barr warned before the election that a massive use of absentee ballots could be vulnerable to fraud, which earned them much criticism in the mainstream media, which called the process safe, and the Republicans' warnings unfounded and unsubstantiated. On 7th November, William Barr, the U.S. Attorney General, commented that the postal vote is full of risk of fraud. These statements were made in an interview for the CNN channel. The bipartisan commission chaired by Jimmy Carter and James Baker said in 2009 that absentee voting was fraught with risks of fraud, he said. Last September, Barr said it was possible the fraud could be committed through the mail voting method. The statement comes from an interview Barr gave to CNN on September 2nd, 2020. On that occasion, the current head of Department of Justice stated that the mail order voting model would be susceptible to fraud and the people would be playing with fire by using the system. But today, the Attorney General has not publicly stated the results of the election process. Barr's previous words coincide with the accusations held by the acting president, who on Thursday night stated that fraud is being committed with respect to the voting process. The candidate for re-election said that U.S. country's electoral system is a corrupt system and made people corrupt. The president is clinging to the legal route of to safeguard his alleged victory in the election that have not yet produced an official winner. We will follow this process through every aspect of law to ensure that the people have confidence in our government, he added. Tracking codes. Mail ballots are very difficult to duplicate on the fly. Each jurisdiction has its own ballot format, paper form, and the types differ from voters by their respective districts. Rick Hasen, professor of law and political science at the University of California, a leading expert on election law, wrote on Twitter, "Ballot envelopes also often contain codes that help election officials track the ballots. Ballot forms must contain certain information that must be verified, such as signature, identifying information, and sometimes witness requirements. All of this would have to be forced and done in a way that would escape attention. Legal exposure. Republican lawyers complained. Acting President lawyer Sidney Powell said Democrats used computer glitches to change votes, and she will fight tooth and nail in federal court to expose this fraud. As the legal cause of the president challenging Tuesday's election results gain momentum, former federal prosecutor Sidney Powell, who is assisting the White House legal team, said that she has seen evidence of massive fraud. To manufacture votes for the Democratic Party, they have done in every way imaginable, Powell told to Fox News' Maria Bartiromo on Sunday. From the dead voting in massive numbers to creating absolutely fraudulent ballots that exist only by voting for the old man. We have identified at least 450,000 ballots in key states that miraculously only have one mark for the Democrat and no other candidate. He continued before claiming that the vote counting software and hardware manufactured by Dominion voting systems was used to flip votes. The Dominion equipment was used in 28 states, including Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, Georgia, and Arizona, where a fraud allegedly took place. Powell said that computer bugs in the Dominion software were used to tilt the vote against Michigan Senate candidate John James and Georgia Representative Doug Collins. There were a lot of people affected by this, he said. We have to fight tooth and nail in federal court to expose this heinous fraud and the conspiracy behind it. Current affairs of the reset. The Department of Homeland Security has secretly announced an election audit that claims 80% of ballots have failed ballot integrity checks. As of Sunday, October 8th, more than 20,000 National Guard troops were stationed in 12 key states to help define legitimate ballots and rule out false ones as part of an apparent fraudulent operation. The official ballots used in the election were printed by the Department of Homeland Security. Each legitimate ballot was watermarked with QFS blockchain encryption codes. As Don Carlos de Barbella said, the president is fully aware that the undercover operation and is allowing the Democrats to deepen their actions. The sophisticated undercover operation was intended to catch and expose the massive electoral fraud. Everything you are seeing now with the electoral fraud was completely expected by the president's people. This is the largest undercover operation in U.S. history. In a few days, the president is expected to announce the release of the debt, along with the release of another round of stimulus checks. In that case, we would have another election in 120 days under the restored constitutional republic, this time using the transparent and fair quantum voting system. Everything falls apart. Forces of Light Taking Control is the title of a message from Ambassador Aho of the Galactic Federation by Aurora Ray. This is the beginning of the establishment of an intergalactic confederation as the old system is crumbling before the eyes of the people of Earth. We are entering a high state of mass awakening. The unbelievers and the mind-controlled population of Earth are now moving into the first stage of awakening. For many, this will be a shock, and they will inevitably experience the dark night of the soul now. This is necessary to process and get rid of layers of programming of false beliefs. The US election of 2020 have been used to become the greatest coup in world history. The whole world is watching as the old system is dismantled. Corruption is emerging at great speed. This is the final battle, and the victory light is imminent. Current events have been carefully premeditated, planned and executed as a cooperation between the forces of light and the Earth Alliance. Only a landslide of this caliber is powerful enough to shake and awaken the sleepers. The events of 2020 have forced many to reevaluate their belief systems. The political situation in the United States of America is the culmination of events that will bring the victory of light over darkness. This marks the final death of a corrupt system that does not honor the earth and that does not honor life. You are now entering the golden age of Gaia and at an accelerated rate. Do not engage in political discussions with those who still cling to their matrix programming. It will drag you down and lower your frequency. At this point, the tables are turning quickly, and even MSM will soon be forced to report fairly. The forces of light are in full control and will begin to adjust the narrative now. You are asked to help by maintaining your frequency and by holding on to your vision of freedom, peace and love for the human race. The revelation of truth is at hand. All darkness is coming to light. Many will be devastated and feel lost or trapped. The programming is there, and people on Earth identify with their beliefs. As the beliefs begin to be crushed, they will become confused without knowing who they are. This is where we need you to hold the light. You are the ones who have chosen this task. That's why you are awake and enlightened, so you can be the showers of the way, the light bearers, the warriors of light, and the galactic seers that your fellow Earth dwellers now need more than ever. Many will begin to come to you, asking for moral support and compassion during these stressful times. We want to assure you that we see and appreciate all the hard work you have done to help raise the frequency of Earth. The collective consciousness is ready to receive the higher codes of light now. We continue to bombard the Earth with gamma photon light beams. These codes carry a frequency designed to make this transition progress as smooth as possible, or as the individual consciousness allows. For those who have already gone through the awakening process, these codes will activate their planes and place them on the superhighway to 5D ascension. The official dismantling of the old paradigm has begun, as the leader of the cabal have fallen into their own trap. Rejoice, dear ones. You will forget all the difficulties you have to endure, and you will experience harmony and love like nothing you have ever dreamed of. The abundance of your world will be returned to you and laid at your feet. It has begun. We love you. We are here with you. We are in control now. This is the victory of light over darkness and the coming of Gaia's new dawn. That's all for today, and thank you very much.